A rolling ball of blood-sucking tentacles from outer space attack a wee island off the coast of Ireland, and the only chance of survival the people of this meagerly populated town have is to get so pissing drunk the alien monsters don't want to eat them. We watched Grabbers, today on...
What the fuck is this?
Grabbers.
Grabbers!
Grabbers!
Yes! The grabbiest movie I ever done seen.
Grabbers.
Grabbers.
All the grabbings.
Okay, before we get into the rest of the episode, I wanted to get this out of the way. Because the last time we did this, Jameson got upset at me. But this is the only time I'll be able to talk about this, and I don't know how else to open this episode. So this is the segment of the show where I talk about a poster that is not the poster of the movie that we just watched. I just really wanted to talk about this, and there's no other way.
Just wasting everybody's time.
Just wasting everyone's time, but I'm front-loading it.
Well, whenever you're ready.
Last episode we did Son of Dracula. We got our Dracula movie out of the way, and I was looking around for potential other Dracula movies we could do, and I found one movie. It's like a foreign movie. I didn't write down what country it's from, but I found a movie called Dracula In Love. Now, we're not going to do this movie on the show because I watched the trailer and it looks very bad. It looks like it was filmed in a Home Depot after hours. No sighting of Dracula anywhere in the trailer. There was a little gremlin type creature that I think maybe was meant to be Dracula. I don't know. It looks terrible. It doesn't star anyone. No one has ever heard of it.
Are you sure we're never going to cover this one? This sounds right up our alley.
And the reason that I wanted to talk about it, is the only time we're ever going to talk about it here. No, I love her, hyperbole, but this movie has maybe one of my favorite taglines of any movie I've seen recently, and there's only one way. Now, what
is it, Kaz?
I'm building it up.
Okay, all right.
Despite what your reaction is, because this is the introduction, if I build it up and it's not good, just like fake a reaction. Okay? Because we need to keep the energy going because the podcast is going. So here's the poster for Dracula In Love. The tagline is sex, drugs, rock and roll, ... and Dracula. Then you die. It's good. It's a good tagline. It's maybe give the guy who came up with that tagline an award.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not like a tagline award, just like a random award.
The coveted Kaz's favorite tagline award.
Give him a ribbon.
The tag.
It's a ribbon.
He gets a ribbon.
The taggies.
The taggies.
The taggies. The first annual Taggy Awards.
Taggy sounds like some kind of affliction you would get later in life.
Oh.
You know what it sounds like?
My grandpa just came down with the taggies.
I'm so sorry. I wouldn't wish the taggies on anyone. You know what it sounds like a spin-off of?
Oh no.
Grabbers!
Grabbers!
And welcome back, however you wish to self-identa die to the Fridays. This presents 2 months of Halloween Spooktacular. I said the entire thing this time.
You did, yeah.
I did. Good. Yes,
Proud of you.
It's the part of the podcast where we say to all of the people who decide, there are some people out there who say that Christmas starts on November 1st, and today we say...
They're wrong.
Who can play at that game? So yeah, around September, we start watching Halloween movies because we can't wait. This is what we're doing, and this is the podcast, and I'm your host, Kaz Lesgard, and joining me always, here's my co-host, Jameson Rafter.
Konnichiwa, mi amigos. Bienvenue at the fuck is this?
That's the perfect greeting for a very
Irish movie.
Yes.
Top of the morning to you.
I would like to point out two things. One,
there's a moth
There's a moth.
Oh, we have a visitor.
Yes. Hello, Mothman.
It's the Mothman. Oh, Halloween. Oh, is it urban legend?
Hello, Arthur. That's a tick reference,
There you go, yeah. Oh, well, you've named him now, so you can't ever get rid of him.
No, it'll be quite easy.
Yeah. Two things. One, there's a moth. Two, this is our Halloween episode, and we're all wearing St. Patrick's Day clothing. Why is that, Jameson?
Because this movie was made in Ireland.
Oh,
do you want me to go into further detail than
yes,
that?
please go into it.
Oh yeah, we had a couple of beers while watching this too.
Because
Because the central premise of this movie is that an alien monster crash lands in some small Irish community, and the only way to ward it off is for people to get drunk
So that's what we did.
We thought it would be a great
because
idea.
life imitates art.
The characters in this movie have to stay drunk so they don't get eaten by aliens, and we have to stay drunk so we can give you the best podcast the internet has to offer. And to do that,
we're off to a great start.
we're off
are we
to
not?
a fairly great start. Long-time listeners.
Some would say legendarily great start.
One of the best.
One of the all-time greats.
Long-time listeners of the show will know that I've been very vocal about my past with alcohol.
And this was your idea.
This was fully 100% my idea. Off pod. See, I'm bringing it back. I have to do it once an episode.
Get on with it.
Off pod, I have put myself back on the wagon. Don't think that this is the most depressing episode of the show. I have been drinking socially for about a month now at the behest of this man, of my co-host, Jameson Raffler.
I'm an enabler.
He is, and he invited me out, and after a year of COVID and whatnot, I decided I needed that social interaction. So he invited me out to join his trivia team, member of which is our esteemed guest this evening, Jimson. Who's over here? Who's this person?
This is my longtime friend Kate Sith. It's just Kate. It's Kate. She's back. She's back once again.
Yes, I'm back, and it's only fitting because last time I was on this podcast, I was drunk.
And now...
So, here we are, watching a movie about drunk people fighting off a massive squid.
Much like the main character in this movie, whose natural state is to be drunk, but he takes him out of this. Now the tables have turned. The tables turned for him in the movie, and now the tables have turned for you, and you're the most soberish person in the room?
I am the most sober person in the room. Wow.
Congratulations, yeah.
Kate, what a difference a year makes.
Yeah.
Last year...
2020 was a dark time.
Last year...
Some would say being here for Dear Dracula was the darkest chapter in your life.
That was a dark time for all of us, yes.
Yes.
But, last year, doing this show, you were just a person on the other end of a Zoom call that I had never met before, and only talked to for about 5 minutes of that episode, and now
now we're trivia champions.
And now a year later, we are the undefeated trivia champions of Team Quiz Marquee.
That's right.
A winning streak that we would no doubt be continuing right now if, in fact, our trivia host didn't probably get COVID.
Or we can cut that out.
Yeah.
We're not going to say him by now. He doesn't listen to the show, does he?
I think people can put 2 and 2 together. Host at
well, then I didn't say at that would be, okay, well, we'll have to bleep that out.
Fine.
We'll bleep that out. Okay, we'll come up with a different name for him. Let's just call him, for lack of a term, that seems like a good made-up name. Kate, welcome back. It's Halloween season.
Yes, it's my season.
Yeah.
Guess what time it is, you guys?
What time is it, Kate?
It's Halloween time. It's September 2nd.
That's what we do. That's how we do.
We can take our time putting this episode out. Today we watched 2012's Grabbers. Yes.
Get ready for a lot of that, and get ready for general incoherence from me. Hey, fun story. When you don't drink for like a year and a half, your tolerance goes way down. But your podcasting only improves.
Are you saying that now our podcast is going to be in a tailspin?
This is where we turn the corner. We're reaching a wider drunk audience. A wider, not a whiter. We don't want to reach a whiter audience.
How could we?
In fact, half of the white people listening to this, turn your phones off. Jameson, you wanted to watch Grabbers. And we did watch Grabbers. How did you come across this movie?
This was recommended to me by my good buddy Blake, where he just saw the description. He loved it. This small town in Ireland has to fend off an alien invasion by getting drunk, and so he invited us all over to his place, and we made a drinking game out of it, and that was about it.
What was the drinking game? Did you drink every time someone got grabbed?
Drink every time. Yes,
every time
someone got grabbed. Every time someone mentioned Grabbers. Every time someone had a drink. And now, having rewatched this movie, I think we could have added a few more rules. Drink every time a crossfade is done.
I mean, you'd be on the floor immediately. You'd be on the floor within 10 minutes if that was the case.
Drink every time a character says something indecipherable because you can't pick up what the Irish are saying.
What's your name?
Very well. Very good.
We're missing a little bit of that.
I'm pretty sure that was spot on.
There are some thick with names with real thick Gaelish roots.
But I don't think the character even understood a word that man said when she asked.
I think that's the joke.
I mean, speaking of drinking games, watching this movie, I was thinking a great idea for a drinking game. If this movie was a little more popular and it had a little bit more of a cult following, it would be great to have a grabbers evening where you rent out a pub and everyone has to drink as much as possible with the knowledge that the grabbers are coming, and then you hire some out of work actors to
storm outside the bar. And...
Yeah, you throw pieces of spaghetti every once in a while and you just band up against the window.
Oh
and
no, the grabbers are out
there.
there.
The grabbers, shots for everyone. I don't know, it could be fun. Have a grabbers night.
Grabbers pub crawl.
Make it happen.
One of the first things I noticed about this film is that Richard Coyle is in a perpetual state of hungover and then drunk again. And honestly, I could relate. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly had my 3 years of pure darkness where I didn't usually get into the habit of rolling out of bed and then immediately begin drinking again. I definitely did that a handful of times because there's real life drunk and then there's movie drunk.
Yeah.
And this movie, I mean, this was the epitome of movie drunk. That's kind of the plot. Yeah. So, Jameson, I know the answer to this question, but Kate, have you ever been to Ireland?
No. I want to go though.
Especially after watching Grabbers.
Oh, especially
It's not.
after
You're going on the Grabbers tour.
That was the turning point for me.
You're gonna go to that
really
pub.
I want to go and find some grabbers and not get eaten.
And yes, and consensually grab them back.
That encouraged you to go to Ireland, seeing this movie where like alien squids are kidnapping people and eating them.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair.
But Jameson, you and I have both been to Ireland, not together at the same time, but I can already feel myself doing the accent. I am not trying to. I am not trying to. It is the Canadian thing where we get the idea of an accent into our heads and we think it's cute and then we just do it and we can't help ourselves.
Subconsciously.
We're the worst people to talk to.
Like most people in North America, I do have very deep Gaelic roots coming from Ireland. I think I'm like third generation Canadian, but that never stopped me from saying, oh, I got Irish heritage in me.
I'm Irish too.
I mean, I'm named after a goddamn Irish whiskey, for Christ's sake.
That is true, yes.
But yeah, my dad's side of the family is all Irish. We have a lot of pine for the old Emerald Isle, a lot of affinity for it. When we all get together and we have big family dinners, it's only a matter of hours before like we have too much wine in us and we all start talking like pirates. It's great.
And then inevitably someone just starts staring out the window and like they're getting very quiet. What's going on? Shh. He's pining. He's pining for the Emerald Isle. Whereabouts in Ireland did you end up going?
When I went to Ireland, I went to Dublin specifically because I had some Irish friends who visited me in Vancouver. Actually, they were my dad's friends' nieces, and I was volunteered to show them around town. So when they were heading home, they said, if you ever find yourself in Ireland, just drop us a line. We'll show you a good time. And I had some money saved up, so the very next summer I went over there. And yeah, shout out to my good friend Rachel. She set me up with like this really fucking sweet in like the Best Western in Dublin, and she had my entire week all planned out, going to all these different museums, seeing these cathedrals, going out into the countryside. It was great. One of my fondest memories of that trip actually was on my very first day on the flight over, a 15-hour flight. Didn't sleep a wink because I was so excited. Didn't eat anything because I was cheap as fuck. And when we landed at 8 a.m., I meet up with Rachel and she says, scheduling wise, it'd make most sense for us if we did the Guinness Factory and the Jameson Whiskey Distillery today. So that's what we did. 8 in the morning, empty stomach, no sleep, big old fucking brewery tour where I had 4 pints of Guinness to myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a meal in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
I went on the Guinness tour as well, too, and I did the whole thing. I got the certificate.
Got the gravity bar.
Learned how to do the perfect pour, and then, of course, that evening I went out to a variety of pubs, and I kept drinking Guinness, and I was shocked to learn that none of these authentic Irish bartenders were doing the perfect pour. And I was like, well, I got the certificate, so...
They gotta do it fast.
I just wanted to say one thing. No, of course I didn't do it because I didn't want to get thrown out of Ireland.
But the best part was when I went to the Jameson Whiskey Distillery, because the way that it works is that on every fucking stop on the tour, they ask someone in the tour group if they want to have a shot of whiskey. And I was the first...
You had a variety of fake mustaches with you on the...
No, but what I was volunteered first. And when they say, what's your name, sir? Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Canada. My name is Jameson. Oh, the prince has come home. And of course, I was treated like goddamn royalty. And I was volunteered on every stop on that tour. My God. God, my tongue was numb at the end of that tour.
Yeah.
They're like, here's our 12 aged one, here's our 15 aged one. You can really taste the subtle differences after it. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, definitely. I slept like a baby that night.
Yeah.
At an early night at 6 p.m., so...
There is a liquor called Kaz, but it's not very good. It's made out of moose blood. I did go on the tour.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was offered a bunch of free samples, but after the second one, I just realized I couldn't develop a taste for it. You know what the Guinness, big revelation about the Guinness factory for me, is that I did not realize until I was there that it's the same Guinness that's the Book of World Records.
Yes, they came up with that when Alec Guinness, not Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to so many cantinas, he needed to settle these world record bar bets.
Great.
So grabbers.
So grabbers.
Oh, grabbers.
Which is just a fun thing to say.
It was directed by a fella named John Wright, who has only really directed 2 movies of note, this being one of them, and the other being Robot Overlord, starring Ben Kingsley and Gillian Anderson.
Yes, I saw that. That may be a future episode for us, because I managed to get those 2 names above the title, despite the fact
in what
that
looks like a fucking asylum picture.
it looks, yeah, the CGI looks about, which is odd because the CGI in this is actually not bad.
I'm impressed with this enough that small budget indie little horror movie, really good special effects budget considering that this cost $5 million.
Wow, I mean, yeah, that's impressive that they were able to pull off what they were able to do. They did have a couple of things working for them. Most of this is shot at night.
Night, but also during the rain, and it's all like really hard to make effects at that time on that budget look good in the rain.
Yeah, but the
That's a
thing
texture thing.
about the grabbers is that they're very fast. They sort of roll. They're sort of like a rolling ball of like whirling tentacles and teeth. Something about that in particular, it doesn't have to look great to be alarming.
Yeah.
You know, you see like just a big rolling ball of arms coming at you. You get out of the way.
I was not expecting the final one to be the size of a house. I liked the little ones. They were really cute.
Yeah, they're just like little plastic
They're
elephant
just
trunks.
wrecking the place. They're just in the bar.
Very shades of Gremlins.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's lots of little grabber,
Very gremlin-y.
little grabber babies all over the place. Of course,
Grabber babies.
one is of course hanging from the ceiling lamp and hanging around. Even though when you think about it, it doesn't make much sense. Why would it be there? It's there because this is a monster movie, and we need the little monsters to make mayhem and havoc.
We should mention that these creatures, in addition to having 1,000 tentacles, also have a chameleon-type tongue that goes
For
out.
grabbing.
For grabbing.
For grabbing.
So
If you're playing along at home, take a drink every time we say the word grabbers. So these creatures, they clutch, they snag things,
they grab.
they like to catch, they take and grasp.
Yes.
This was a running bit, and I've just used up all of the words that I
You
was
wanted to make that a running bit and you blew it in the first try? At least I remembered 3 languages when I said hello to
This
everybody.
is going to be our strongest episode. Yes.
Christ. So, Kate, you had mentioned Richard Coy. How do you know Richard Coy? Where do you...
Coyle.
Coyle.
I remember him from the Sabrina series on Netflix, and I think I've seen him in something else.
Not really familiar with the majority of the cast in this movie because they are Irish and UK based actors. Anyone from that region would be far more familiar with them, and the 3 leads are all stars of British TV shows. Ruth Bradley is the star of Primeval and Humans. Russell Tovey is the star of Being Human. He's the werewolf on that. That's a fairly popular UK show that got an American show later about a ghost, a werewolf, and a vampire all hanging out and being roommates. Richard Coyle was the star of a show I remember watching called Coupling.
Yeah,
which,
it was Murdoch.
yeah, which is kind of like the British Friends, except it was a little dirtier and a little more sex forward.
Ooh, how very European.
Very good,
Yeah,
yes.
Jeff Murdoch.
And like all good British TV shows, it only lasted for about 30 episodes, and then they were done with it, because that's how that works. And then the TV shows get adapted into US shows, and they go on for like 8 seasons.
Kaz, you failed to mention a connection to Russell Tovey that you share.
Oh, you mentioned this.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
6 Degrees of Kaz Lesgard with my 3 IMDb credits. I am assuming he was, what? Was he on an episode of Legends of Tomorrow?
Yes, he
I mean,
was.
that has to be it. Yeah, because the other options were he was in the indie video game that I did a voice for, or he was in a Hallmark movie. So I'm guessing it's probably Legends.
So Kaz, best known as his notable portrayal as Napoleon Bonaparte in
Everyone talks about it. Everyone stops me on the street and says, hey.
While not in the same episode, Russell Tovey is known for many of those crossover CW superhero shows. He's played the Ray, which is a DC hero I am not familiar with. But now, when you meet him at a fucking after party, you guys have something to talk about.
Yeah, we're in the universe.
You're part of the shared universe there.
What is that? Is it like he got like a big manta ray costume? He's got like wings and like a prehensile tail that he can like stab people with.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
It could be like a ray of light as well. It doesn't have to be a manta ray.
Oh, I completely forgot about the light thing. And then you also said there's an actor in here who's like the most prestigious theater actor in all of Ireland.
Yeah, he played Paddy. The crazy, crusty, sea salty
who, of course,
lobster
his name
fisherman.
Is Paddy.
Layla Roddy. He is noted in the Irish Times as surely the finest actor of his generation. This guy has been like in around film and cinema and stage for most of his entire life. His mother was the manager and a performer of the Lyric Theatre, and his grandfather ran a multitude of cinemas. As a young man, he left for the US to play soccer, but later moved back to Ireland to major at psychology at the University of Ulster. At 33, he returned home to Ulster to pursue acting, change his career. To that, he would say, I had been working as a psychologist in England, but decided the time had come to get out. I had enough therapy to last me a lifetime. Maybe it was the lurking actor in me, but I found I was taking too many people's problems onto myself and paying the price. At least now, I can inflict them on others. Which I thought is a very delightful quote.
That makes a lot of sense, to help people along in their own lives and then take the things that make them fucked up people and then just add that to your repertoire of characters that you can pull out. And I love that. I love it. He's another example of the thing that I always say, why I'm not terribly worried about the fact that my career is nowhere currently right now, because you can become an actor literally at any age. Alan Rickman's first movie was Die Hard, and he was 43.
There you go.
Yeah, so when I'm 44 and I still haven't been in a movie, then I can start drinking heavily again. Speaking of, it's whatever we need to get back on track.
All right, so we watched this movie on YouTube with a multitude of subtitles that
for the first time in Bulgarian. I don't know,
something like that, some language that we didn't understand. Man, I would have loved it if the subtitles were in English.
Yes.
Yeah, like there was a couple of. Sometimes that Irish brogue can be just a little too thick.
This movie, if I had to lobby one complaint about this movie, is that it does take a while to get going. It's got a really great premise. It's a really good elevator pitch type movie. Aliens attack a small Irish village. They find out that alcohol poisons the blood, and these aliens love to drink blood, and it kills them, and so everyone has to get drunk to stave off the alien attack. I think that's a great premise. I don't think this movie really pulled it off in all the ways it could have.
Yeah.
I think there's a multitude of ways you could have kept this going. I would have liked to have seen, this alien attack happen over the course of several days, where, there's one initial lock-in barnstorming down at the pub, and maybe like a few people get picked off, and then they wake up the next morning, and the aliens are still there, and they think like, one evening and we'll be fine, but then they have to continuously keep drinking, and maybe it's like over the course of several days. It was a weirdly self-contained movie. Even the whole having to stay drunk so that you won't get attacked by an alien thing is kind of taken off the table very early on. Around the time that the appearance of the giant kaiju grabber shows up and whacks people away with its tentacles, everyone sort of realizes, oh, this brilliant plan we've come up with actually is complete shit. We're all in so much danger.
God, I had a counter to that.
It was fuck you, this movie's great.
No, it's not that it's great. It's not great. I think the assumption is that, there is a storm approaching this island. We established that these creatures really only need water and blood to survive. So with this torrential rainstorm coming throughout the weekend, presumably everyone on the island would die die that very night. So they really do only have this one chance.
What I don't understand is why they didn't just throw the alcohol into the monster's mouth right away.
True.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
Avoided a lot of property damage. They had just done that.
and runtime. Yes, because
Yeah.
spoiler alert, that's kind of ultimately what ends up saving the day in the end, is just pouring alcohol down the throat and then lighting it on fire, and it seems like they had a multitude of ways they could have gotten that done. There's a prominent super soaker, so but like the plan with that is all like, let's turn it into a flamethrower and put petrol in it. No, literally
raining.
put
It's raining, you putz!
put alcohol in the super soaker, and then when the thing screams at you, shoot the vodka into its mouth.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I mean, to that I would say there are 2 points to that. Like, again, I'm not saying this is a good movie, but I think the movie does 2 good things. There's 2 explanations to why they don't do that. One is that I think there's a lot of comedic potential for watching a bunch of drunk people stumble around trying to be action heroes.
Yes.
Which this movie doesn't take advantage of, but I think as things like, I don't know, like Trailer Park Boys or Always Sunny in Philadelphia has shown us, it's really fucking hilarious to watch drunk people try to be competent
Yes.
at something, especially when the stakes are this high. Second of all, there is a throwaway line from Patty, from Layla Roddy himself, that when someone suggests, why don't we just like put it in a spritz bottle and spray it at him, he says, that's a waste of good whiskey.
Could we not just spray some whiskey in his mouth and that? Where's the whiskey?
So that's immediately off the table.
It's not a waste of good. You're stopping the aliens. You're stopping the grabbers from grabbing.
I wouldn't go for it myself.
The movie that this reminded me the most of, just in terms of a ragtag bunch of people from not the UK. I mean, I know it's Ireland, but that
Careful.
general area. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the movie that this reminded me the most of is one of my favorite movies, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Because it's a very similar premise of let's get together in a bar and let's like seal up the bar and let's try not to get killed by these attacking forces. And it feels like this movie was very much inspired by Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead, which interestingly enough, a year after this movie comes out, Edgar Wright and the Shaun of the Dead boys make their own alien invasion movie that also centers somewhat on the idea of staying drunk. They made The World's End.
Oh, interesting.
Which is not quite the same premise as this, but it is sort of interesting
Close
how
enough, yeah.
one movie was kind of inspired by the other one, and then the year after that, the original people who made the first movie made a movie that's kind of similar to the ripoff of their movie. Not that this movie is a ripoff of Shaun of the Dead, but it's very similar.
Though, when like researching where I got like how much this movie actually cost to make, the one that just like cropped in my mind is like, what is this similar to? What is this similar? I'm just going to look up Shaun of the Dead and how much that cost to make. That was only $6 million.
Yes.
So another small budget horror comedy. Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, John Wright. I just realized these directors have the exact same last name.
Yeah.
Oh wow, there we go.
Might be related.
They're stealing even more.
Oh,
there
shit.
we go. Stealing his identity.
Edgar Wright's got a lawsuit on his hands.
Possibly.
Did we talk about how they tried to have like a tender retrospective moment while they're in the car about like guys drinking? And you know, you just don't know enough about these characters. They haven't established any real development at all, other than one of them getting drunk. And the other one, who is the actual drunk, is sober. But they try to have this moment, and you just, like, nothing is well established enough for me to care. This.
No, like...
That was just a thought that I had towards the climax of the film.
You're speaking specifically about the romance. The sort of
yeah.
shoehorned in romance between our two leads.
And that, and just like talking about, well, you're a perpetual drunk. What's that all about, or something like that. And it's just
What a mismatched pair we are.
yeah,
Riggs
what
and
a
Murtaugh.
mismatched pair. Says the sober alcoholic and the drunk workaholic.
Yeah.
Oh, how the turns have tabled.
Are you sure you're the sober one?
Am I?
To go into like who those characters are, so there's Lisa Nolan, who I guess is a big city cop who's come on some kind of sabbatical to the island to just work a small town beat for a little while.
She's only there for like a weekend, supposedly. I think maybe she's on her way to a different precinct. We do need to try and phase out the Irish accents. The one thing I will insist, however, is that our main characters aren't cops. They are Garda.
They're Garda.
They're Garda, which is one of my favorite sort of across the pond.
Fuck off. Yeah, so she's like very by the books, no nonsense, eager to please. And she's partnered up with Kieran, Richard Coyle's character, who is this burnout fucking alcoholic who is apparently still allowed to be on the force because it's only him and a guy in a polo shirt who are on the fucking police force.
Guard in town. Is there another guy?
There was the guy they met up at the police station.
And he's like gone for the weekend or whatever. So it's this little Irish village. Was the implication that everyone in the pub that's the entirety of the town?
That's the town population.
So it's like what, 30 people?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem big enough to sustain a community.
No, because like she arrives on like some ferry boat, and there are some people getting onto the boat, so they're leaving to go to the mainland.
It's like a long
there were
weekend
children.
thing.
There were children who were going to get onto the ferry boat. There were no children in the bar. So either those kids are left unsupervised alone when there's like alien grabbers around, or they were all taken off the island.
That's a really good point. The grabbers picked a very convenient time to invade Earth. They just so happened to come to this town
and there's only like 30 people around for them to eat.
We put all the children on the same boat, and we sent the boat out into the middle of the ocean. Don't put all of the children on your boat. That's how a town gets wiped off the map.
Yeah, it's just for the weekend.
It's always just for the weekend.
All right, that's what they tell you.
That's what they tell you.
I wonder if they got eaten by squiddies out in the ocean.
Probably. Like the first attacks in the movie were those fucking poor fishermen.
That's true. Yeah, we never thought about the people who we
Nobody
don't
thought
see.
about the children.
Won't someone think of the children? They might get grabbed.
We only know about this one isolated case on this one island.
Yeah, but where did they come from? The sea.
Well, they come from the sky initially, in an asteroid, which we see at the beginning, because that's how you know this is an alien invasion.
And then they eat some pilot whales, and they wash up on the beach. And then
but there was so much staring out into the sea, sinisterly.
Yeah, because they're pining for the Emerald Isles.
No, it's
even though they're there.
Because there's a danger lurking out there, but they don't know what. But
I'm pining for the Emerald Isle. They're right behind you, you drunk fool. Anyway, so a bunch of whales are dead.
Yeah. And people start, that's a good idea. Finish that thought of yours, Kat.
Finish that thought, and hey, while we're finishing that thought, why don't you finish your thought? And after you're done that thought, have a listen to this week's charity shout-out, which I'm sure will be a lot more sober than we're making it. And we'll try and temper this with a charity that it isn't horrifically depressing, because we're setting a certain mood for this episode, and it's gonna be a real tonal shift if we're drinking and having fun, and then you got over to the charity spot and it's like feline AIDS. So it won't be that.
Isn't it my turn to pick a charity?
It is. Have fun with that.
Motherfucker. I hate you so much sometimes.
In the dead of night on September 8th, 2021, without any judge's decision or judicial review, 5 justices on the American Supreme Court overruled a 48-year guaranteed standing right to abortion, allowing a Texas law banning all abortions after 6 weeks to go into effect, with no exceptions for rape or incest. Moreover, it gave private citizens the right to sue anyone getting or anyone assisting someone in getting an abortion with a monstrously inhumane incentive of a $10,000 cash prize. That's right, a bounty on someone making a private decision on their future. Speaking personally, this is one of the most insane and cruel things I have ever heard. This law treats women as second-class citizens, with no say in how they handle their pregnancies, and declares open season for ideologues looking to cash in on someone else's private matters. You can probably tell by the tone of my voice that I'm adamantly pro-choice, and I consider myself very fortunate that the matter of abortion is largely a non-issue in Canada, where the right to abortion is the law of the land. But as the events in the United States have shown, those rights should not be taken for granted. So for this episode's charity spot, I wanted to acknowledge the countless women or couples seeking abortions in the trying and personal times in their lives. As the COVID-19 pandemic progresses, more people around the world are finding it harder to get abortion care, STI testing, and contraception. I want to make sure people get the information and support they need and deserve. You can seek out organizations like Action Canada for Sexual Health and Rights, a progressive pro-choice charitable organization committed to advancing and upholding sexual and reproductive health and rights in Canada and globally. And also to National Network of Abortion Funds, which vows to bring us closer to a future where all people have access to abortion without shame or stigma. And of course, to the Planned Parenthood Federation, the non-profit organization that for over 100 years has served as the largest provider of reproductive health services. To make a donation to any of these services, or if you yourself are in need of them, please visit their websites at actioncanadashr.org, abortionfunds.org, and plannedparenthood.org. Those websites again are actioncanadashr.org, abortionfunds.org, and plannedparenthood.org.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Baby squids.
I love doing that. There's no pause. Anyway, baby
All right.
squids. Yes.
Yes.
Do you have thoughts on baby squids?
No.
No?
That was my greeting. Baby squids.
Baby squids, they're up in the house.
It's my second favorite greeting of the evening.
Yeah.
You know my
Just-
first one? Grabber!
Grabbers!
All right, so Patty finds he catches one of the baby grabbers.
Initially, it's fairly large, and we don't think it's a baby.
Yeah, he mistakes it for like a lobster or something. He takes it home.
There's like three stages of grabbers. There's like the little babies. There's like the in-between one, which is like a...
Size of your torso.
Yeah, it's like a big starfish. And then there's mommy grabber,
Yeah.
who's like kaiju sized.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Big as a house. But Patty...
Big as a pub.
Big as a pub. But Patty, he gets accosted by like the grabber that he brings home in his fucking lobster cage because he's a madman. And he gets attacked by it, but he wards it off, so he takes it into the fucking only forensics guy on the island who works for the police. And there's like a bit of will they, won't they with the city cop, and he, just because he's like the more buttoned down,
I guess we're
polite
led
guy.
to believe. His name is like Smith.
Yeah.
And he's just a nerd.
He's a polite nerd, mad
Yeah.
science, who's like the intellectual superior of the drunk Coyle.
And they're playing him up to be the, quote, nice guy who is going to eventually reveal to be kind of a shit. And then they don't do that with that character.
No,
No, they kind of don't do anything with him.
No, you would think that he would become like sort of a human antagonist because he's like, this is the discovery of a lifetime. I won't let you destroy it. He's fascinated by these kind of things.
And this character is played by Russell Tovey, my best friend. So,
Yes, exactly.
Who we're...
Something to talk about when you
we
see
will
it next.
hang out at parties and talk about grabbers. Him being in grabbers, me watching grabbers.
And then they go to they do like the what the fuck they do? They look at the map of where all the attacks happened, and they kind of triangulate where the mama one would probably be stationed at. So they go to check it out. They find all the eggs on the beach. They meet the giant one, and they run back and they destroy the thing. But hey, you can't get it wet, otherwise it'll come back to life.
Now, I was a little bit confused. Now, it doesn't seem like alcohol doesn't kill the grabbers. It just stops them, right?
It makes them barf.
It makes them barf.
I think
It
it-
barfs up the blood that they sucked from you.
I thought it dehydrated.
It
them.
Yeah, it
okay.
dehydrates them, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can bring a grabber back to life by getting it wet.
Yeah.
Right. So it's only a temporary solution. Feeding them booze blood, which is what I will call that. Yes, and then
Better than that moose blood swill that your namesake is named after.
I shouldn't have
Burn.
I shouldn't have bought stock in that company. I have boxes and boxes of Kaz. Too. It's a Bulgarian drink. There's like a hyphen in between the A and the Z. Anyway, so they come up with this plan: get drunk.
Yeah.
And they convince the entire town to go to the one pub.
Well, first they have to perform a controlled experiment.
Yes.
They get the most sober person who's ever set foot on the island, aka the lady cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lady
the Lady
Garda.
Garda.
Lady Garda.
Lady Garda.
Oh,
Poker
the-
face.
Oh, the Lady Garda. Oh.
God, you guys.
Could a drunk guy come up with that one? I don't think so. Anyways, they decide they're going to do a controlled experiment on her. They're going to give her as much to drink as Patty had the night that he survived a grabber attack.
On a Saturday night.
On a Saturday night, which is, by the looks of it, well, what did they say it was?
That-
0.2. Which
Point two,
Yeah.
alcohol
0.2
percent.
Yeah.
She
blood
had
alcohol level.
about 10 pints, several shots, and she also had a sip of Patty's moonshine, or some sort of like
Yeah.
clear liquid that he brewed in his tub.
Never have a stranger's moonshine. That's a lesson to you listeners at home, kid.
Never drink a clear liquid that someone gives you.
Unlabeled.
Always
Unlabeled.
ask several follow-up questions.
Especially
Yeah.
if they look like Patty.
If it smells like that.
Mhm.
Patty, yeah, you take a swig and then he just starts saying, "Oh, like I was King year in the summer of '05.
Sure you were, Patty. No, like even his opening line is like, I found a sea monster, and that's just like, you know, even if this took place outside of the Grabbers movie, he'd be saying shit like that. But yes, and then she's fucking hammered for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I thought would have lent to a little bit more comedy. There's a great scene where they storm into a church to tell everybody, hey, we're gonna have a big all-nighter at the pub.
You're throwing a party.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a welcome party for me. Welcome party. You're leaving in a fortnight. It's just a goodbye party, whatever. You only just got here. What's the problem?
What we mean to say is that...
Hey, bucko! Where are you going? This party's for your benefit. And all you're going to be there to is the law. And I swear to God, I'll arrest anyone of you who isn't. You, just sit down.
I would have loved to have like more comedy bits like that from
It's
her.
just like, you all have to come or you're under arrest.
I don't understand why they didn't just tell them in the church that there were just monsters everywhere.
Or you just say, there's a big storm coming outside.
Hunker down.
Maybe just hang out here and drink at the bar.
Yeah,
and,
hunker down and we'll
you know,
weather this fucking storm.
Free bar. It didn't take much to convince them. Just free bar.
All the kids are off the island. You got no responsibilities, nothing to do tonight. Let's just fucking wait out the storm. You know, this kind of event only happens once a year in town.
The more I think about it, I don't even think those kids lived on the island. I think those kids were visiting the island with their parents and then they left. I don't
They're
think
visiting their grandparents.
there's no children on this island.
Who would visit this fucking island? There's nothing there.
It's true.
Massive open fields.
There's a nice beach with a squid.
There's a big squid on the beach.
Look, despite the squid
and dead
eggs,
whales.
despite the alien eggs and the dead whales, that looks like an amazing beach. It looks lovely.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
It reminded me a little bit of the beach. I suppose this is the last beach movie I saw, so maybe it reminded me of that. But it reminded me a little bit of the beach from Old. You know, once they get done with the Grabbers, they have to worry about getting old. But then again, we all have to worry about that.
Everyone on that island is old.
That's true. That's why they said. That's why it's the same beach.
Shit.
They were 32 earlier that day.
They just expanded inward.
And they were so drunk they didn't realize because there's no mirrors. This movie was shot in 4 different locations in Ireland. It was shot in Donegal, Belfast, Rathlin Island, and Inishowen. So
Are you sure you're pronouncing that last one right?
No, I'm not convinced I've pronounced a single word correctly so far this evening.
There's a wonderful town I visited in Ireland when I was there called Hote.
Yes, I was about to tell my Hote story. You tell yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hote is not spelled the way it sounds, but it's a marvelous little seaside town just like 2 hours out of Dublin. My friend Rachel couldn't accompany me there on the trip, and she was like, when you show up there, just ask one of the locals to show you where the loop is. And what the loop was this big walking path that went up to the cliffs, and you got to see like the postcard version of Ireland with the high cliffs and the rolling hills. So just once you pop into the town there, you know, you ask a local there to show you, to point you towards the loop. They're gonna know what you're talking about. Everybody knows the loop. So I go there and I pop into the first pub I go to, and I say like, hey, I'm looking to find the loop. And they're like, what the fuck is the loop? And I was like, it's the path up the cliffs. You mean the road. The road. So I was a fish out of water twice over. Man. It was great.
I love that. Yeah, no, that was my 4th day in Ireland. I did like a big Euro trip, so I only had 4 days in Dublin, primarily where I stayed, but I did spend the majority of the last day in Hote because I realized, I've seen most of what Dublin can show me. I want to get out. Yeah. I want to go somewhere. So yeah, someone recommended that. I did that hike, and 4 days into my month-long vacation, climbing up, and there was a part where you have to kind of climb down a little bit, and you have to sit over the side, and you can like kick your legs up, and there's just nothing but sea as far as you can see, and that felt like the first day of my vacation. That's still my happy place.
You know what?
I still, like, whenever I get, like, stressed or full with anxiety, which is all the time, I like to close my eyes and I like to imagine that I'm back on that cliff, and because that shit was beautiful.
I'm kicking myself for making that the last leg, the last thing I did on my last day of Ireland. You know, because now I'm itching to go back so I can do more of shit like that.
Yeah, go.
And I'm feeling really bad that we both like are talking up Ireland, and poor Kate hasn't been yet. I'm sorry.
You gotta go.
I will go.
Well, visit Hote first. So yes, the people go to to the pub and they have a riotous time. There's only a small collection of people who are in the know about the grabber attack, and they're all like watching the exits with nail guns and like a piece of board with a nail in it.
Oh, that's one of my favorite lines. Yeah. Is they're showing all of the weapons they have to fight the grabbers, and I think the doctor goes,
I have a nail gun and a board with a nail in it.
It's very good. Very reminiscent of
that one Simpsons bit?
Yes, where Moe fought a squid-like alien.
Oh
That's
my
where they got
God.
the idea.
Oh my God.
It was a very effective weapon
Simpsons
as well, too.
did it.
Simpsons did it. There we go. We proved it once again. Don't blame me, I voted for Kodos.
Get back to your point, Kate. Remember when you brought up the no romantic chemistry between the two leads?
Yeah.
In that moment where she like tries to peel back the layers off this alcoholic, you know, I guess the town rumor is that he's been an alcoholic ever since his wife died, but he reveals that no, things just didn't work out. And he became an alcoholic after that.
So wait, did his wife die?
No, it just didn't fucking work out.
Oh, it's just a rumor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How that has any relevancy to what is happening in the story? I guess it's kind of relevant to
It's not. He just kind of...
No, it's not. I'm just trying to be nice,
Yeah,
but
totally.
like it's not.
It's because it's a movie, and
Mhm.
if you have a male character and a female character, they have to get together because we have to continue the heteronormative agenda that all movies have.
They have to unpack the baggage that was never established in the first place.
I mean, speaking of baggage, what baggage does she have? What does
Who's to say?
Yeah, what is
nobody?
She doesn't. She's
No.
good at her job, and even while fucking drunk, she saves the day multiple times.
There's nothing to this character of these. She doesn't have inner turmoil or something that she's working to like get over or whatever.
No.
She's just kind of perfect, and she remains that way.
Like, oh, she's a little too caught up in her work and her job, as if that's a problem.
Well, I mean, because she needs to loosen up, you know? She needs to loosen up and she needs to find, like, the right man, because that's what...
Well, you know what? As this movie proves, she loosens up plenty, and she's still the fucking action hero who saves the day in the end.
Mm-hmm. So the grabbers attack. It's around, like, this point where it's like, okay, this is the fun part of the movie, because they're all locked into the pub and they're all drinking. Eventually, we know that there's going to be some alien shenanigans. I don't know, I wish this was more fun than it was, because, like, even the initial first alien attack is kind of lame. Like, someone goes outside to take a piss, and the big grabber just shows up. He gets away, but then he ends up getting grabbed again, and it just eats him. And it's around that point they all realize, oh, the whole getting drunk, that's not going to do anything, really, because this is a big monster, and it can kill us in a variety of ways.
Which is really too bad, because I do like the creature design. I think the special effects on it are pretty good. And it's shot in a fun and creepy way. Like, there's a part where they run back into the police car, and, you know, there's the grabber swarming it, and it's his big circular mouth showing all those... I forget what that technique is called, where, like, things circle in on each other, but he has, like, those mashing kind of teeth. I'm not doing it justice.
It's like an espresso machine.
It looks good coming through a car windshield window. That's my point. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, with a premise this absurd and fun, you could do a little bit more with like some absurdity and fun.
Can I just also say they could have grabbed more?
There
was a decent amount of grabbing.
They grabbed plenty.
They grabbed a fine amount. I wouldn't say they grabbed plenty. Actually, I feel like...
Explain to me, because I had to run downstairs to get our dinner at one point, and I told you guys to just keep watching. There's a moment where, like, a guy is resting his feet right next to an open fireplace. No fire in there, but it's right next to the open fireplace and chimney. Does a tentacle come down and grab him by the leg and drag him up?
It doesn't, because he goes... it goes outside, and it grabs him outside, but then the end of that scene is after he gets grabbed, his wife runs around and shuts all of the doors and windows, but she doesn't shut the chimney in time, and she gets grabbed.
So somebody goes.
Someone does get grabbed.
Good. Right.
That reminds me of something that I thought was going to pay off later and didn't. I thought it's the perfect setup for a joke that they ultimately did not pay off. Richard Coyle is trying to endear himself to the female Garda, and he does the oldest joke ever written. What's this? It's dead one of those. If you don't know what I'm doing, I mean, you know what the joke. You know what the joke is. What is this? It's a dead one of those. You put the things up. you have these squid aliens. How is that not the final hero line after they kill the big grabber? And it's like, it's dead and it's lying there. That's when Lisa should repeat the line.
You're a dead one of these.
It's all like, hey, what's that? She points at the grabber and she says, it's a dead one of those. That would have been the perfect final line. It would have been like a callback to the joke from earlier.
What was the final dry cool wit line? Was it shut your hole or something?
It was like something like, yeah, it's all like...
shut your hole.
Shut your hole.
Shut your hole.
Why don't you grab one of these?
And just did the...
That missed opportunity. Should have just said, why don't you grab one of these?
We could have written this.
We could have written this movie.
Could have made it a lot more fun.
Oh, man.
So their plan is that it's going to be unstoppable while the rain's falling. So we should lead it to the quarry and get it trapped in this crane and like kind of hoist it above ground.
They're gonna
until
grab
sunrise, until
They're
the rain
gonna
stops.
grab the grabber.
You gotta fight grabber with a grabber.
Yes.
And
It's very easy to be out here and grabbing people, but when you get grabbed yourself,
it's
listen,
not so sweet.
It's not all peaches and cream.
Looks like the grabber has become the grabby.
That's what the sequel is. Grabbies.
Grabbies? No, it's not.
No. I grossed myself out just by saying that.
Yeah. So here's what I find confusing. They get the female guard drunk because she's, she doesn't drink. So therefore, like, let's test like alcohol levels and see what it takes to kill this monster. Fine. That's a good experiment right there. But now that she's fucking wasted and the alcoholic Garda, who for some reason has decided like someone's gotta stay sober and keep charge of everybody, he's like, I'll do it. First of all, no one's gonna fucking trust this guy not to drink. But also,
I mean,
but
you
now
just said it. There's so much they could have done with that.
Yeah.
Over the course of the evening, where it's just he's tempted.
Yeah.
But he knows he can't.
But now when it comes to the part of like, okay, well, the monster's attacking the house now and everyone's moving upstairs, why doesn't he get to the truck? Why is it her? I think I missed that detail.
She's gotta get the keys.
She's got to get the keys because she's drunk, so they're not going to attack her. But once she has the keys, then he would have driven.
The place set on fire, and somehow she got out first, I suppose.
She set the bar.
He was trying to get out the window.
Right,
And
yeah.
Because he can't go out because he's sober, and so they're going to attack him. They don't do a great job of establishing
How that exactly panned out. Really.
Yeah.
or even how that
Yeah.
works. Like, do the grab... If you're drunk... I mean, obviously, if you're drunk and the grabber drinks your blood,
You're okay.
it will have... The grabber won't like that, and the grabber will shut down. But do you just smell bad to a grabber? Like, there's
No,
like a thing where,
You're
like...
poisonous.
Yeah, well, there's like a thing where, like, Smith, the dude, is...
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But he just whacks him out of the way. I'm just like, at what point does alcohol blood level, at what point in size of this thing does that not matter anymore?
Totally, exactly.
So-
At this point, it's all like, well, we need to get to the car. Well, you can't go because you're sober and you'll be attacked. No, but he's still faster than anyone.
Anymore.
Yeah, he'll still do the job better than any of you.
Yeah, like the giant kaiju grabber, once it smells like someone's fucking piss, to them it's just like, what is this, like, Canada 67? Get the fuck out of here.
He just whack goes flying across the beach.
I don't
Or
understand
island,
that
whatever.
reference.
Canada 67?
Yeah.
Oh, it's only like 3%.
Oh, it's a type of alcohol.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the country of Canada in the year of our Lord 1967. Was that like a particularly drunken year for the country, or?
It's only 67 calories, that beer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's a disappointing end to that story.
Yeah.
Much like the ending to Grabbers. I don't know, it's fine.
It goes hand in
It's
hand.
fine.
So
The ending though, the eggs.
Yeah, don't grab the eggs.
Are we gonna see a grabbiers? A grabbers too?
Just
I hope not.
Grub. Just called grub. Got grubbed. I don't know. I'm just saying words at this point here. Yeah.
Well, like, so they lead the monster to the quarry where it fucking rolls after them. You were saying that the monster looks pretty impressive when it's moving. To that I
When
agree.
it's
with
in
you.
motion, yeah, it's scary as fuck because it's fast and it's just all armed, dark too, so you can't get a good look at it.
But it's kind of silly watching it sort of tumble around.
There's a terror in the silliness.
I suppose.
Like, it's kind of-
because that's its natural form and it's
Right.
unsettling. Therefore,
I don't know, but there's something scary about things that are a little goofy. It's why the clown from It is scary when he's being goofy and come hither and everything. You're all like, get the fuck away! No, get the fuck away from me!
But yeah, they lead it to a quarry. Whatever the fuck his name is, Richard Coyle. His plan is to like lead it to these flaming barrels where he's going to shoot it with a flare gun he found. That doesn't fucking go off. But then fucking Lisa, who is drunk off her mind, manages to push the grabber into the pit with this bulldozer.
I think she might have tried to make an Aliens reference, but the whole "get away from her, you bitch," except she didn't say bitch, she said a worse word.
Mm-hmm. Which we won't repeat in front of a
but
lady.
But people in Ireland say all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But as a lady, you can say it on the podcast, and you won't get cancelled. So...
We'll be like,
Kate, hold that in your back pocket for later if you want.
Oh my god.
Save that for your plugs.
no, next time she's hanging out with her, she's like, fucking Jameson and Kaz, those.
I say that word all the time.
You don't need it on air.
No.
You don't need a recording of that.
Nobody needs to be subjected to that.
Gotcha. And then they listen to you finally, and they drop like the fucking moonshine into the guy's mouth.
They pour it right down the hatch and pew with the flare gun and.
Yeah, that's enough to do it. Kind of weak monsters, to be honest.
And then they completely forget that they have a beach full of grabber eggs.
Yeah.
And then one just kind of presumes that they all hatched and everyone got eaten and never heard from that village again. And the grabbers...
The kids got home safe.
The kids got home and they're like, how was the island? And they're all like, it's boring. Never take us there again.
We ran out of booze, though. While people were gone for one weekend, we drank the town dry.
I mean, there are survivors. It's kind of weirdly low body count. I think that's kind of part of why I was a little disappointed. The monster movie, you kind of want to see more people get eaten. You want to see more people get grabbed. But there was only really, 4 deaths?
Yeah, I think, probably about 4 or 5.
The unnamed fisherman, the guy who goes to look for the grabber, the couple at home, and then Smith, the scientist man. Oh, and then the dog. Okay, so there's maybe 8, but a lot of them are not named characters.
Yeah, very low mortality rate in this movie.
As opposed to something like Shaun of the Dead, which has a supporting cast that's very well fleshed out. You get an idea of who each of those characters are, so that when they die horribly, their deaths actually mean something to you. We kind of don't know anything about any of these characters.
Are you saying Shaun of the Dead is a better movie than Grubbers?
I'm not saying that. The one thing I will say about Shaun of the Dead is that not a lot of grabbing. There's a little bit of grabbing. Zombies do some grabbing, but this movie does have that movie beat in terms of who is held for a period of time. Violently.
That second grabbing in the movie where the guy was there to load the dead whales off the beach, and he gets dragged from the sand into the water. I thought that was a pretty well done effect, and I thought there'd be a lot more creative uses of grabbing in this movie.
We needed one really good
grab,
gory kill. These there's squid monsters that drink blood. Mm-hmm. It should just be more visceral than what we end up with. There should be we should see a body that literally has no blood left in it.
We see a lot of severed heads.
Yeah,
they leave the
that was
head
the budget
intact.
that they had.
Yeah,
it's easy for a low budget movie to make a fake head. So they throw a bunch of those around. I have some passing thoughts.
I do as well, but you go first.
We see a character before he is sitting at home before he's attacked by the grabbers, watching a horror movie on TV, and that horror movie, of course, is Night of the Living Dead. Because when you want to put a character watching a horror movie in your horror movie, you choose that movie because that movie is in the public domain and you don't have to pay for it. There should be a drinking game around how often Night of the Living Dead shows up in other movies because people don't have to pay for the rights to put Night of the Living Dead.
It's like the Wilhelm scream at this point.
I think you might have to pay for the Wilhelm scream.
Really?
Yes. The reason Night of the Living Dead is in the public domain is because when they shot that movie, someone literally filed the paperwork wrong. And now no one owns the rights to those movies. I could produce a theater version of Night of the Living Dead next month, and I wouldn't have to pay a red cent for it.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Let's just do it. What are we doing?
What the fuck are we doing wasting our night watching grabbers? We could be doing that.
I did like this one line where Richard Coyle, his character has a name. Right?
Yeah, it's like Kieran.
Oh, it's too many syllables. Richard Coyle is shaking off a hangover, and he asks someone for an aspirin, and they say, I've got wine gums. Do you want any wine gums? He's like, yeah, all right. I don't know. I thought that was funny. I thought that was a funny line.
Well, someone asked him for a mint, and he was like, no, heartburn.
Yeah.
Or when he when she asks him to pour her a coffee and he just gives her a cup of milk with like a little bit of coffee in it. And that was
She asked for a black coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
he
asked for
just-
black coffee.
He just milks it down.
Yeah.
Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say, so like Lisa, she's like new in this town. She's like renting a room above the pub, I think.
Yeah, they do that.
And Coyle and Patty are sitting at the bar and they're having their pints. And then she comes down, she goes up to the bartender and she asks for an iron. And that's weird. What's weirder is that the bartender leaves and comes back with an iron and gives her an iron. Is that just an Irish thing? Can you just go into any bar and just ask for personal home equipment?
That's only strange to us in North America. In Europe, and specifically England, the UK, Ireland, yeah, like pubs are short for public houses or public housing. So yes, there are like hotel rooms that you could stay in upstairs. And
instead of...
like a hostel type.
Like a hostel, yeah. Famously, when I was driving around...
Famously, everyone talks about it.
Okay, all right.
There's a plaque.
There was a time where my mother and I were visiting London, and we were driving around the English countryside, and we just, like, we started getting hungry. So there was, like, this really awesome looking, like, stone wall thatch roof pub, and we're like, okay, let's just pop in for something to eat. And we're like, hi, can we get a menu? And they're like, no. We're like, well, why not? Like, we're done serving lunch. And we're like, that's fucking amazing. You know, like here we are, like so used to like, you know, I'm hungry, I want a meal now. And yet in the old country, of course they're not serving lunch. Lunchtime is over. So yes, I imagine
a packet of crisps, I imagine, or something.
Exactly, yeah. So of course when like a guest is staying at the public house, you know, you go downstairs, you talk to the bartender, and you say like, oh hey, I need extra towels. Oh hey, I need an ironing board or something.
He just keeps it next to the whiskey.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I thought that was delightful. One thing I wanted to bring up is we kept talking about like there was like ample room for more comedy in this movie. I really did appreciate like just hearing like some great Irish witticisms.
Such as
the whole world is drowning and we don't have the gills for it. What's another good one here? Someone calls someone else a beautiful... Oh, when the Garda woman is, you know, just drunk talking to the alcoholic guy, but he's sober at this one point, and you think, oh man, he's not going to take advantage of this drunken woman, or not. Is he? And then he says, "Hi, the beautiful drunken slayer of a Venus. Perhaps another time."
Which is a
Poetry of the angels.
Which is a very poetic way of saying I don't feel like date raping tonight.
Maybe
tomorrow.
I don't know. There's just
language of poets.
Okay, and then there was like one other line, but I'm saving that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are we at the time now? Is it time? Have we stopped serving lunch?
I'm about to lose my lunch if I have to talk about this movie anymore. Kaz, what do we think of Grabbers?
I think ordering a chicken sandwich with guacamole and then eating it while I was watching a bunch of grabber goo all over like a hand was probably the worst decision I've made all day. I don't know why I always forget that guacamole on chicken sandwiches is usually gross.
Well, you were drunk.
I only had one beer at that time.
Oh, well, it's been a while since you've had it.
It has been, yes, exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question?
Do you recommend this movie? Kate, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
You look like you're paying attention.
Yeah. If you're looking for a fun party movie, you know, definitely give it a watch. It's alright. If you're looking for something to seriously sit down and watch something else.
Midland, I get you.
If you don't want to seriously watch something, watch Grabbers.
So having seen this movie twice, I enjoyed it a lot more the first go around, and now that I'm looking at it with a critical eye, I see a lot of the faults. And sadly, I think the stuff that I really did enjoy about the movie don't really hold up as well as I thought they did. That said, this movie has amazing potential to have been like really amazing, and I think with maybe, I don't know if you would call it like, you know, like maybe more committee by design, where you could have had like some more people throwing more horror convention there, or just like streamlining things a little bit more. I think it could have been a lot more fun. I think there was great premise with just having, like, the best parts for me were when all the drunk people were trying to like get the flamethrower working, and you're worried, my god, is someone gonna get blasted in the face right now? I don't know. Kate mentioned a good point. If you're watching in a party setting, you know, you don't have to pay 100% attention. You can notice that, like, oh, these like drawn up parts where there is no monster is really corny and kind of cheaply made, so I'm not going to pay much attention to it. You come back in 10 minutes later and there's a giant tentacle monster. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little
the
too
last
harsh.
time I went to a party and someone put on a movie featuring a giant tentacle monster, it was a very different party from the ones people are generally going to. A lot of full body fursuits. Look, I'm not telling tales out of school here.
This was a con
I've
after
seen
party.
this hentai before.
I've been in this hentai before. That's the thing. A lot of people are making their own porn. I'm one of the few people who's making his own hentai. So
I'm not the only voice acting credit you have.
Oh no!
You're not even a voice acting credit because you don't put your shit on IMDb, and you can.
Oh,
you can do that.
I'm not going to pay for an IMDb membership.
That is true. I don't pay for one.
There you go. Maybe that's our problem.
I don't pay for it. I asked my agent, is all like, how do I get like my photo on IMDb for all my credits? It's all like, you have to pay like $150 a year. And I'm all like, oh, I'm okay. Thanks very much. That's why my IMDb still says Casimir Lescard, because I can't change it to Kaz because it'll cost me $150.
I'll just link my Instagram and all my demo reels.
Look.
Yes.
I'm not a filmmaker. Clearly, the people who made this movie know more about making movies than I do. But I do have a podcast which has lasted for longer than 50 episodes. So, here's what I would do to Grabbers. I would make the events of the movie last longer than a single night. I would introduce more townspeople and have them be more of characters. And I would have it take place over the course of several days. You see the Grabbers attack them during the day as well as the night. Have it be the rainy season. Have it be constantly wet throughout the movie.
Not hard to do for Ireland.
And have it be a thing where the townspeople keep finding themselves in situations where they have to consistently be drunk. And when they accidentally sober up, that's when the Grabbers grab him. Here's Father O'Malley, and he's tending to his garden or whatever, and he's drinking his whiskey, but maybe he drops the whiskey on the ground. Oh, Grabber got him! Like something like that. Because I barely know the characters, and even the main characters, I'm not terribly endeared to any of them.
No.
I don't really care what happens to any of the characters in this, which turns out to be good because nothing really happens to most of them. Most of them end up surviving, and the ones that do die, I don't really remember the deaths all that well.
You know what? Patty needed to die in this movie.
No, I like Patty.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody likes Patty. So that's
Patty's like the Queen's character.
He is. Well, he's not. He's not capable or intense or anything. He's just a crotchety old salty sea dog of a man.
I would argue Quint was also not capable. Quint talked a big game, but you know what happened? He got ate by that shark. He got grabbed. He got shark grabbed.
But he's the heart of the movie in this situation. And at this point, you need to rip the heart of the audience to raise some stakes.
No, I agree with Kate. I think Patty should have been like the final death. I think he should have been... Because he should have been like the death we don't see coming.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Not right away.
He died killing the monster.
That's right. He sacrifices himself in a really awesome sequence where he's, I don't know, downing a bottle of whiskey and going down in flames like the Terminator in Terminator 2.
Not only do they forget about the grabber eggs on the beach, after they kill the mommy grabber, we also don't see what happens to all of the little grabbers that are attacking the bar. The bar is on fire.
The bar's on fire.
The bar's on fire, so we assume that they all died in the fire, but we don't know that.
Did they die in the... Oh, no. I didn't think of that.
But they're monsters, and they're not cute in that way.
But did the people die in the fire, though? Or did the grabbers get them?
They're a little cute.
Or did the little mini
people
grabbers get them?
People in the hotel could have died, though.
Yeah,
I didn't see
from
them
the
get
fire.
There's a lot. There's
Actually,
a lot.
No, what?
There was a conversation with the bartender after.
Oh yeah, so like
So
everybody.
he survived anyways.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about everybody else, but
His business did not survive.
You know what
his
happened?
business did not survive.
What did happen to those baby versions is the female guard came by with a nail gun and just started fucking pounding them, which was pretty intense. As was that one scene where there's like a POV shot of the scientist and the two guard is like curb stomping the fucking monster to death.
Yeah.
Well, Kate, thank you for coming back onto our fucking show here.
Always a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming back.
What, if anything, have you seen or listened to or read or heard lately that you want to recommend to people?
Yeah.
Do you want to throw out some
A
plugs?
friend of mine started a project back in 2018 called the Elsewhere Project. It's with Pylon Radio at the Vancouver Co-op. If you're interested in hearing about travel, anthropology, and general wellness, do check it out. You recently finished a class in university called Critical Approaches to Anime, and I managed to pick his brain about it in person a little bit. And had I known you could get a university credit by watching anime, I may have taken the path to higher education. But, alas, if you live in the Vancouver Lower Mainland area, tune in to 100.5 FM every Thursday at 11 a.m. Otherwise, you can go to their website. It's eastvantoelsewhere.com.
All right.
Oh wow, that's great. That's a great plug. I'd love to take that class too. Here's the fundamental principles of One Piece. Let's
Here,
go.
watch a bunch of anime and get a college or a university credit.
Eastern philosophy as it relates to Naruto. Yes. The thing with those anime shows is that there's like something crazy like 700 episodes of all of them. So that is a university course that will truly never end.
Yeah. Somewhat tying into theme here, I recently wrapped up reading a book called The Whiskey King, which was about Canada's most infamous bootlegger and the RCMP officer who came from the same region of Italy that he did, and how they had this sort of, I don't know what you would call it, like not like a cat and mouse thing. No, it was just about the RCMP officer who like tried to bring him down for years.
Like a bird and squirrel.
So
Common enemies.
Like a moose and squirrel.
Yes. No, they were friends.
All right, yeah, and those bad guys were Russian. But the point remains, it's a decent book. It's because like the bootlegger was like this Al Capone-esque, adored by the press, gentleman thief.
My favorite kind of thief.
There you go, yeah. Who always like kept his nose clean and all that kind of stuff. But you just knew that he was running the show there. And the poor RCMP officer who like lost everything and really only had the job to keep him going and to just doggedly take this guy down. It's a pretty good story, but spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for history.
Yeah, the bootlegger wound up going into hiding and completely vanishing. No one knows what happened to this guy. Yeah.
He could be right behind you.
There!
Right now.
It's a grabber!
He grabbed you! And I, of course, apologize on behalf of Jameson and my co-host, the bad guys from Rocky and Bullwinkle, were, of course, from Pennsylvania, not Russia. What do I want to recommend? We have a huge demographic in Pennsylvania. We absolutely need to. I want to recommend
Don't you usually come with like 4 of these?
Yeah, but I have to think about it because there's booze in my brain. No, I want to recommend.
Sounds like quiz night.
I'm way more sober on quiz night. Oh man. No, I want to recommend a podcast that I've been binging like crazy this week. It's the perfect podcast for me. It's an obsessively nerdy podcast about something that I'm weirdly knowledgeable about. It's called This Had Oscar Buzz. It's hosted by Chris File and Joe Reed. It is a podcast that covers movies that weren't nominated for Academy Awards, but at one time might have considered to possibly have been nominated for Academy Awards. So it's the only podcast that covers films like Captain Corelli's Mandolin, or Tulip Fever, or Finding Forrester. Remember that one? You're the man now, dog!
Yes, it's sort of YTMND.
Yeah, indeed. And it just fits that Venn diagram of stuff that I like, talking about movies, talking about Oscars, and also it's super gay. So it fits all of the demographics that I really like. But most of all, what I've been enjoying the most about it is it's a very, like this podcast, it's a very do-it-yourself podcast. And
they're a bunch of rambling jackasses who don't know what they're doing too.
Yes, very
all
much,
right.
But also quite tellingly, despite the fact that they are both culture writers who get paid to do this sort of thing and are friends with actual celebrities that come on and guest on their show, their sound quality is basically the same as ours. So it makes me feel a lot better about this show, that a show that I am currently listening to almost every day sounds almost the same, and in some episodes sounds noticeably worse than what we put out.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I highly recommend that. Go check that out. And that was, one more time,
Grabbers!
Directed by
fun to say.
It's so great, directed by John Wright. If you like this episode of The Fuck Is This, please check us out on Instagram at the F Is This Podcast and on Twitter at the TK_Is This. We also have a Facebook page. Just search for The Fuck Is This. If you're watching this on our YouTube page and you just want to hear it like you're out on the road, you're like, I can't take YouTube with me unless you pay for YouTube Premium, in which case you're the only person in the world who does that, because no one does that.
You need to tighten up this plug a
We
little.
also have a Spotify version of this episode, and if you're currently listening to that on Spotify and you saw, like, wait, I like YouTube, I like looking at podcasts. I'm that one guy that likes to watch podcasts. Guess what? We also have a YouTube version as well, which you can also check out. And now, to finish the episode, which is the tightest, most coherent episode we've done. This is...
Cheers to that, am I right?
Clearly a great idea. And this is, of course, assuming that when we are done, I'll be able to save this and not immediately delete this from my laptop. But Jameson, take us out.
Well, that was fun.
And then he got grabbed!
Just as he grabbed our hearts.